We can manage our own security. We can manage our own energy. We can manage our own markets. We can manage our own fertility. Europe cannot. And therefore, Europe has bent down that humiliating photograph of all the leaders in White House. It's a shame. And I think that's partly because they are very focused on getting the deal right. They are very focused on their dependency. Trump imposed a 25% tariff on a very random basis. And I'll come to that. In addition, because we are buying Russian oil, he has imposed an additional penalty of 25%, taking our total tariffs on Indian goods on 70% of Indian goods to 50%. For instance, drugs are exempt. But we are all trying to find some logic in something which is completely illogical. It's very random. There is no mathematics to this. There is no logic. There is no cause and effect in this. So I'll come to that. For instance, he's imposing tariffs because he says the trade deficits are too high. Okay. So China's trade deficit with the US is $295 billion. India's is 46. So China is about 6 times more than India, and tariffs on China are 30%. The deficit of European Union is $226 billion, which is 5 times more than India, and the tariffs there are 15%. The deficit of Vietnam is $172 billion, which is 4 times India's. The deficit with Mexico, sorry, that was Mexico. Vietnam is a little less, 124. That is 3 times of India. So all these 4 countries have a much lower tariff put on them compared to India. Now let's come to the Russian oil, which is a penalty. India bought in 2024, which is the latest data available for me, although there are monthly changes that keep happening. In 2024, India bought 49 billion euros worth of Russian oil. How much did China buy? 78 billion euros. So it's almost double. And yet there is no penalty on China, it's only on India. In the same period, European Union bought 22 billion euros worth of gas. And we are not talking about coal and other things yet. How much penalty do they get? No. On the contrary, they are trying to impose sanctions. This is all hypocrisy. This is bullying. For people like us who function on policy parameters, on numbers, on analysis, we have no space left anymore. This is pure bullying, Dadagiri. And how do you explain Dadagiri to anybody? How do you explain why a bully is acting in this way? He will say, I want X. You give him X, he will move the gaze to Y. You give him Y, he will take it to Z. And we are not European Unions. We are not dependent on security. We can manage our own security. We can manage our own energy. We can manage our own markets. We can manage our own fertility. Europe cannot. And therefore, Europe has bent down that humiliating photograph of all the leaders in White House. It's a shame. And I think that's partly because they are very focused on getting the deal right. They are very focused on their dependency. They are very focused on NATO. They are very focused on financing this war, fighting against Putin, etc., etc. India is not. To put India in the same basket and expect India to kneel down is, you're talking about 2 different cultures, 2 different stances. Many other countries in Asia have bent down. India has not. India will not. Deal with us.